Don't judge me, but sometimes I avoid watching or reading the news. Okay, most of the time I avoid it. Sometimes I'm even surprised by the weather. Like today, when I'm recording this episode, it was snowing after it had been 70 degrees last week. I'm not proud of it, but yeah, life gets busy. Things are happening in the world that I just kind of don't want to know about, but I know a little about what's going on. Well, the other night I was falling asleep. I started to feel a little bit guilty for putting my head in the sand, and then I started to wonder, am I avoiding some crucial developments that could really impact my industry and all of the accountants and bookkeepers that I help? Could this affect my business? Was starting to kind of freak out, to be honest. So I did what anyone in my position would do, and I turned on a meditation podcast and went to sleep. Problem for tomorrow, Serena. I let it simmer for a couple days, and I decided to do my own research, not listening to the news, not reading from sources that lean one way or another, but true, unbiased research. I turned to ChatGPT. Before you hate on me, chat really does speed up the research process, and I had a good little convo with it. I asked it all the questions I was wondering, like, explain to me the Fair Tax Act, and who will be responsible for administering this if there is no IRS, and so on. And now I bring to you, in honor of the upcoming tax deadline, dun dun dun, the fruits of mine and ChatGPT's labor for anyone else who wants to hear about how to actually handle this potential change. I did add a lot of my own 2 cents in with this research, so please don't be fooled. This podcast is AI driven, but it's not 100% AI created. You're listening to a bonus mini-sode on the Ambitious Bookkeeper podcast. Hey there, ambitious bookkeepers. If you've been keeping up with tax news, unlike myself, you've probably heard about the Fair Tax Act, the bill that could eliminate income tax and the IRS replacing it with a national sales tax, and leaving tax collection up to each state because they are so good at it. If this happens, it's going to be one of the biggest tax shifts in history, and as bookkeepers, we need to be ready for it. So today, that's what we're talking about. We're going to be talking about what the Fair Tax Act actually means for businesses, how it will change bookkeeping services, and what you can do right now to pivot and prepare. Even if the fair tax doesn't pass, these shift in tax policies give us a peek into the future of bookkeeping, so let's get ahead of it, shall we? All right, let's break this down. If the Fair Tax Act passes, here's what would happen. No more income tax for businesses or individuals. This is pretty big. No more payroll taxes. That means no Social Security or Medicare deductions. I have questions about this, actually. I'm just going to have to dive a little deeper. And no IRS. Yep, IRS would be gone. I mean, it's half gone right now anyway with all the layoffs. Instead, a national sales tax. Every business would collect and remit 23 to 30% federal sales tax, which is inclusive on all goods and services. Right now, we have more of an exclusive tax process with our states. Inclusive tax is kind of how other countries handle sales tax. So instead of income tax compliance, we'd be living in a sales tax driven world, which means bookkeeping wouldn't go away, but it would change dramatically. I would venture to argue that our positions would be even more important in this case. So what this means for bookkeepers, contrary to my midnight spiraling fears, as bookkeepers, our work isn't disappearing, it's evolving. Here's where the shifts will happen. There will be less demand for income tax support, obviously. So if businesses aren't filing income tax returns, there's really no need for estimated tax payments, tax deductions, or year-end tax preparation. This means some of us might lose the clients that only show up at year-end for the sole purpose of getting their business P&L to file their taxes. This could be a blessing for some of us, honestly. But it does provide an opportunity to educate those clients on the importance of monitoring their profits throughout the year. Instead, those businesses will likely need our support throughout the year for sales tax compliance. This will be huge. Bookkeepers really will need to help businesses set up, track, and remit federal sales tax on top of state sales tax. If you haven't specialized in sales tax before and you've been avoiding learning this, now is actually the time to start learning when the stakes are a little lower. You can head over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/sales tax to grab my sales tax workshop to start getting familiar with it as it stands now. Next, payroll tax filings would disappear. As I mentioned before, Social Security and Medicare would go away, and obviously income tax wouldn't be deducted anymore. So 3 types of payroll tax would disappear, but payroll services won't, and businesses will still need help with employee wages, benefits, and cash flow management, which is great news for those of us who don't handle payroll tax filing anyways, and we use systems like Gusto. But there's still going to probably be stuff like unemployment tax or some sort of state-level employee filings anyway. So this won't completely go away either. Next, budgeting and forecasting will be even more important. No tax deductions means businesses will need a completely new strategy for managing cash flow, reinvesting, and staying profitable. So if you're wondering, what should I be doing now? I've gotcha. Let's talk about how you can future-proof your bookkeeping business, because these are the steps I'll be taking too. This isn't about fear, it's about being proactive. I decided even before doing the research for this episode that I was going to use this and see this as an opportunity. The best bookkeepers aren't just number crunchers, we're trusted financial guides. So here's what you can do today to stay ahead. Number 1, start learning sales tax compliance. I already mentioned this before, but I'm going to plug it again. You head over to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/sales tax to grab my sales tax workshop to get familiar with things you need to know about sales tax, because that's not going away at the state level. It's only going to get more complicated with adding federal to this. This is probably the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for some of us. On a recent episode of the Accounting Podcast, formerly known as the Cloud Accounting Podcast, I heard Blake say,
my feeling is that if you do compliance work well, it's very profitable and it's very scalable. And so while there's nothing wrong, in my opinion, with doing advisory, it's a great business. If I were building a firm again, I would be focusing on compliance services.
Like, what? You mean to tell me that contrary to what all the gurus have been pushing down our throats, old Blakey feels the same as I do? While I do offer CFO services for a couple clients, that's not how I make the majority of revenue in my firm. We make it from smaller, more straightforward clients. To each their own, though. So with that, if you've never handled sales tax before, now is the time to learn. I feel like I've said this 3 times in this episode now. The national sales tax will be collected just like the state sales tax, but on a larger scale, and it will be managed by the states as well. So get familiar with sales tax software like Avalara, TaxJar, or the native sales tax functions within your chosen bookkeeping software, whether that's QBO or Xero. These will become essential tools. If you work with service-based businesses that don't currently collect sales tax, now is the time to start educating your clients. Let them know that this could be coming down the pipeline. And don't worry, you'll get practice on filing your own sales tax return at the minimum if this goes into effect, because services will be taxable and we do services. To learn more about sales tax and get familiar with it, check out my sales tax workshop. I've linked it in the show notes. Number 2, shift towards budgeting and forecasting services. I know I just said that the majority of our revenue comes from smaller, less complicated clients than our CFO level clients, but this is a skill that you're going to need even for smaller clients, and I will be offering this to all of our clients if the time comes to. So if income tax disappears, business owners will need a whole new financial strategy. Instead of doing books just to file taxes, which we talked about before, which some of us have been working on getting clients away from anyway, you'll want to help clients plan profit strategies to ensure they're not spending the sales tax revenue that they're collecting, offer budgeting, cash flow planning, and forecasting services to help them navigate a tax-free world. To learn these skills, you can check out my program, Elevate. Go to ambitiousbookkeeper.com/elevate for more information on that. And number 3, you want to expand your advisory skills. So if tax prep is your bread and butter, you will need to shift into higher level advisory or sales tax. Think about adding fractional CFO services, financial planning, or profitability consulting to your business revenue streams. And focus on educating business owners. Many of them will be confused about this shift. I mean, I'm even confused about this shift. And you can be the one guiding them through it. I always say bookkeepers are the first line of defense and support when it comes to all things business compliance. So don't let this opportunity slip by you. Here are my final thoughts. At the end of the day, bookkeeping is still the backbone of business, even if the IRS disappears. Even if income taxes go away, businesses will still need financial experts to keep their books clean, manage their cash flow, and plan for the future. So instead of fearing the shift, let's prepare for it. If you're ready to start learning sales tax, budgeting, and advisory skills, I encourage you to connect with me, whether it's through Elevate, the sales tax workshop, or just following along for more updates. I'm here to help you future-proof your bookkeeping business. All these links I've mentioned are in the show notes. Thank you so much for tuning in today and every week. Now go be ambitious. Thank you to everyone who helps make this podcast possible. Content and interviews are produced by me, Serena Shu. Our intro and outro music is written and performed by my brother, Ian Gilliam. Editing is also by Ian using his awesome sound engineering skills along with Descript software. Hosting and publishing is by Buzzsprout, and you can check out the show notes for links to all of these amazing resources and resources mentioned in the episode.
Be ambitious.